here. Okay, I'm going to do this DIY face mask. No elastic, no sewing machine required, one actual pattern piece, and that's what's next. Okay guys, so I'm kind of losing it, just like everybody else in the world. Just being captive in my own house. I don't have anybody living with me except for my cat, who's always next to me. You start to go really stir crazy. I shouldn't complain. I'm relatively feeling okay and have not been tested, but had a lot of the symptoms, so I'm self-isolating. I have a beautiful backyard and pool where I'm getting some sun every day and catching up on videos. I wasn't going to do this video and make a mask because I thought there was enough out there, but then I realized that there wasn't. I wanted to give, I thank you and kudos to everybody who is supplying the hospitals and doctors and first responders very good masks, but I wanted to get to you in another country, you who don't even have a sewing machine, you don't happen to have elastic on hand, and how can you make a mask to just so you can get to the grocery store, so you can get to the drugstore and protect yourself and others. So I came up with this mask last night, and I'm going to show you how I did it, and that's what's next. Hey guys, let's talk about supplies you're going to need. I wanted to make this one pattern piece, no elastic, no sewing machine is necessary but can be used, and fabric. The fabric I'm asking you to use, believe it or not to go out and buy some fabric, not to go order tons of elastic on Amazon, but I'm using this cotton jacquard fabric. And the reason why it is going to be sufficient is because it's a jacquard. It has a pattern on a pattern, so it is heavy weight and it's very, very tightly woven. And what made me think about this fabric that I happen to have on hand is a man's dress shirt. A man's dress shirt is much more condensed than your typical muslin fabric that people are making it in, which is not going to work or not going to help you. There's also interfacings that you can put on that's heavy. But let's say you have a tailored shirt or a man's shirt that you can discard of and you're willing to discard of, you can make your mask out of that fabric and not have to purchase any fabric. Okay, you're going to need some paper if you're going to make your own pattern. Otherwise, I'm going to try to get some kind of pattern by email, so you can email me and I can send that to you. Because I have the pattern piece here, but you're going to need about 24 inches by about 10 inches of paper if you want to actually drape it on your own self. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Needle and thread is necessary or helpful. Ruler, scotch tape, fray check if you can get a hold of it or happen to have it in your sewing room. Pins, paper scissors or some kind of scissor, pens or pencil. Let's get started. This is my original pattern that I actually did last night. This is the one try with all the little corrections, and this is the actual mask itself. So it's all one piece, and it has this tuck that's going in two different directions, this way and this way for fit, because it's going to be flexible whether you need it to be wider to get to your ears or less to get to your ears with this basic pattern. Hopefully this will fit most people. If not, I'm going to show you right now how to drape it. Okay, so this is the mask, and isn't that pretty cool? All right, let me show you how I actually made the pattern piece here on myself. My mannequin with my head, now the head's actually coming in handy today. I'm going to show you quickly how I did it on myself, believe it or not, with the paper, so you can try to make the pattern yourself. Otherwise, you can wait to see how you can download mine or get mine through email or mail. So I took the 24 by 10 inch piece of paper. I drew a line in the center and put it that way. And then I put that center line where the nose is, like that. I made it high up as much as possible. After I did that, I held it around my ears, and this is the tricky part, guys. This is the part that's necessary. This has to be right there where your nose is. Then you have to feel where the ears are, and you have to make an indentation. This doesn't have a huge indentation, so that's where the ears are. So you can see what I'm talking about like that. Because you need to know how far the distance is from the nose to the ears. That's very important since you're not using elastic. And then you just sort of start shaping it. You see where the eyes are here. Here's the nose. And then you want to make sure it's down here on the chin. This can be wide. We're going to do a tuck there. And you start drawing your shape and molding your shape all the way up to where the ear section is like that. And go around the ear. Here on the eyes, you actually have to know where your eyes are and then where the nose is, and then you have to make that go up and then curve down underneath the eyes and above. It takes some getting used to. It takes a little bit of manipulation. Like I said, I did this on myself last night, believe it or not. Once you take that out, then I can show you on the flat how I actually molded it. Okay, so here's the one that I just lightly did on the mannequin. And this is pretty much my actual pattern that I corrected from my trial and error on this one. So I'm not going to go too much into detail with that because I want to actually get to how to make this, okay? So this is the pattern that I developed after doing that process and working. And I also made a pattern here so you can see dimensions, okay? I'm going to talk a little bit about dimensions, then we're going to cut this guy out and get it started, okay? So here is the dimensions, here's my pattern, and if you have your 24-inch piece of paper folded in half by 8 3/4 or 9 inches wide, you can then use these measurements. Okay, let's get started now with making this actual piece. I'm going to be using this fabric again. I'm going to just take whatever piece I can get, whatever fabric you have that is cotton, that is a little bit heavier weight than just plain muslin would work for this. And then you can just going to cut out, I'm going to cut 2 layers of this in the fabrics. I'm just going to put it like that. I'm putting the grain, which will be parallel to the selvage, which is right here. And that's perfect. Go ahead, I'm going to pin this pattern piece down like that. And after I do that, because of that jacquard piece that's on there, it's a little hard to get the pins through. You will need, I forgot to tell you, a fabric scissor or some kind of scissor to cut your fabric. So now I'm going to cut around this pattern piece. Like a little notch here where the center is. I want to always know where the center is. Now it's going to be a little tricky cutting these little holes out. You need to fold it like that in half. Start it with your scissors and then go around. All right, guys, that's it. So let me take the pins out. It's already right sides together, which is like that. I'm going to put just a few pins to keep the pieces together. And you're going to have to thread your needle. Doesn't matter what color the thread is because it's going to be inside, guys. So whatever thread or needle you might have at hand. Thread the needle. Hopefully you have at least that. Make it double. You want it to be thick. You want it to be strong. Show you my knot method. Lick your finger. Wrap around the thread like that. and then push it out and then pull it back with your middle finger, and you have just made a knot. We're going to be sewing about 1/4 inch all the way around, leaving a space about this big to turn it with. Okay, let me do that. I'm going to start from that spot, about 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to do an up and down stitch with the double, and you want to go as close as possible. Obviously, the closer the better. So you want to stitch very, very close together, like this. All the way around, up and down, up and down. Again, this is measuring 1/4 inch all the way around the edge. Turning the corner, and I'm doing the same thing all the way around, like that. Try not to pull the threads too much. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. You don't want it to pull in any way. And when you get close to where you're finishing with the thread, if you don't have enough, go ahead and just stitch, 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 and then put your needle through both of the loops to make a knot, and cut that. Thread some more needle and go ahead and finish that. I'll come back when that's all sewn. I'm going to clip these corners just so that it's not too hard when I turn it. And then that opening that's right over here, we're going to go ahead and turn this to the right size. Just going to push all of that fabric, little by little. Don't try to do it all at once because you'll rip your stitching. And try to get it to the right side. Just going to push, push, push. I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way. Then I'm going to go ahead and press this around here so that it's just nice, and I'll be right back. Turned it to the right side, and I used my little scissor to kind of poke in some of those hard to move out spaces and curves, and then pressed it. Okay, so this is the tricky part. You can either finish this if you're more of an advanced sewer by turning inside, putting your threaded needle like this, and then turning inside a tiny bit like that on both sides, and stitching it by turning inside like that, if you'd like, and stitching it. You can stitch it like this, going around, and then just pushing in, with your needle. This might take a little bit more practice, pushing that in, pushing that side in like that, so they're both in like that. You have to manipulate it with your fingers, and then go ahead and stitch with an over, kind of like an over stitch, stitching around it to kind of keep it in place like that, all the way around. So you can get a little bit of a clean edge there around that. Or if you're not able to do that, you can then just put a stitch all the way around like this, up and down. And if you happen to have freight check or can get freight check, that is a special thing that actually allows the fabric you can cut it, trim it really nicely, and then put this on the edge so it doesn't fray out for you. Because I didn't want to make piping, and I didn't want to make it complicated. I wanted to make it as simple as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to sew this piece over here, pushing in the excess fabric as I turn it, and do it by hand, pushing it like this, folding a tiny bit inside like that, and then just doing kind of a whip stitch like this all the way around. I'm going to continue doing that, and I will come right back. Okay, after that's done, you want to take the piece and you're going to fold it in half. You need to know where the center of that is on the bottom as well as the top. So you want to put a pin there or a little dot there, a marking. You don't want to poke your eye, so be careful where you put those pins, okay? Then you have to try it on yourself and make that tuck. There's going to have to be a tuck this way and a tuck this way so that we can get that shape. Let's do it on my face now. Now guys, I put it around my ear, and you want it to be as snug as possible from your ear. So with that curved part going up, you need to take this pleat and make that tuck as tight as you can get it, so that you can fold that piece there, and it's going to be staying on your ear very well, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a pin there to hold that down. Like that. I'm going to put it back on right there, and then I'm going to put a tuck going the opposite way down so it cups around my mouth and gives me as much protection as I can here, if that makes sense. Let me show you that on the flat now. So you get your needle and thread again, the double thread, and you see I did it the opposite way. That way you have it will push out nicer if I do it the opposite way. So I'm going to have to put a tack here and a tack here. So where that pin is, you're just going to go from the inside or the back, and then you're just going to go down and up and then down. And you can do that as many times as you feel you need to so that tacks down where it should stay. Up and down. And once you have a good amount of that, you can then just go in the back and knot it like that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom pin here and cut the thread. And let me just go ahead and close this little space right here. We forgot to close that opening, which is how we turned this. So just put your knot inside again. You can go up and down if you'd like. Or you can close it the way you closed around there, which is whip stitching it around there like that to keep it from opening. Just like that. Go ahead and give yourself a knot and another knot. And there you have it. Guys, there it is, a sleek all-in-one, no elastic, no ties, no extra fabrics, no extra piping, all in one. It's protecting me. I can breathe. I do feel the good coverage, and I hope that you liked this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. I know this is important. Tell me if you made one. All right. Let me know in the comments when you make one, and I'll see you next week. We're going to finish the Beckham dress. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.